got a lot to say about this game. You do too.
Yeah, man. This is more than any other type of game. This is the game that had the dressing that I liked. Like Skyrim was a great game. Not a big fan of medieval times,
Yeah, you got
right?
exactly. People love Skyrim, but you have to be okay with the setting. You be like, this is I like swinging swords. You gotta like swinging swords and dragons and stuff.
Right.
And that's great. And there's a reason why it's sold. How many times have they remastered that stupid game? Like 10? Like 10 or so
It's a
times they
gold
keep
mine, man.
remastering it. They remaster it, quote unquote, and they sell it. They sell one upgrade, it breaks all the mods for the game, and then they gotta fix that, and they remaster it again, and they remaster it again. I mean, we're still waiting on Elder Scrolls 6. I think it'll probably be another like 5 years at this point.
Yeah,
Or
yeah,
even
yeah.
or even ship us up,
Or
right?
Starfield, right? Now,
Oh my
Starfield,
god.
I look at it as a clone.
Yeah, yeah, it is a clone. It's just the worst clone. All right. Which is hard to God, they already had the formula, right? Anyway,
It's space, yeah.
that's
It's
just it.
it's in
Yeah.
space, right? So Cyberpunk, right? That is, I love it. I love futuristic. I love this cyberpunk aesthetic. The cool,
Yeah, it's all
slick
dystopian and
rain.
hard edged, right? It's
Yeah,
like, the worthlessness of human life, right? It's they
rain
really
slick streets.
exactly. Someone really, and they always have the Japanese aesthetic, right? There's always a ton of
Yes,
the Asian aesthetic because they just assume the Asians are going to take over. It's like, okay,
yes.
now everything's Japanese, right? Like, it's like I think even in I'm trying to remember. Okay, I lost it. There's like another aesthetic, but it's like the same thing, right? You got a lot of the Japanese aesthetic. You got this. Oh yeah, some guy really described it too. The music, like this existential dread you get just walking
Hmm.
around, like you're worthless. Nobody cares about any of these people. They're gutter. You're just for the gutters.
Utilities have
Yeah,
failed. Medical does
yeah,
not,
yeah.
appeal
Nobody
to
cares.
everybody. There's no socialism whatsoever. Everybody's eating bug protein and stuff like that, right? We could go down
Yeah,
the line.
exactly. Yep.
Yep.
You're eating the bug protein. You've got the even the cops they don't care, right? Like they have the end game adverts where they're like, "Hey, if you even turn to look at us in a traffic stop, we'll kill you." Or,
Right.
"Hey, if a guy goes psycho in the middle of a grocery store, hide in this spot. If you do anything else, we will kill you, or the automated guns will kill you.
The
And don't
turret's
mess with the
coming out.
corporate security." Exactly. And they're like, "Hey, don't worry about the corporate security teams coming to protect their high value clients. They're not for you." That's
Yeah, the turrets coming
like
out of the ceiling are gonna shred you
it's
and the guy
it's just gonna
stealing
shred
the
you. Yeah.
the steaks, right? The steak
Yeah,
cuts.
they make no effort, and the best part is they're all Dobermans, right? All the cops are like these big, beefed up, jacked, like anthropomorphic Dobermans, and then the civilians are all like the pugs, like the fat pugs or something like that, right? Oh man, they lean into it. They're like, yeah,
It's
we don't
great.
care about you.
It's great. No,
It's
I love it. I
it's
don't know what I love about that bleak future, but Cyberpunk the game we're going to be talking about, and as much as we do love the aesthetic, the game itself launched to a rough
oh
opening
yeah, it actually got great reviews, right? Like
somehow.
we were looking
And
we
you
were
know
looking at
what? I
review
don't
roundup, yeah, or at
understand
least the
that.
critical reviews. Well, it's the
Well,
critic reviews,
you
right? The
didn't
critic
have to
reviews are
play
kind
the game
of
much. You didn't have to play the game much.
it's true. It's true.
I still have videos saved of, you couldn't play that game for more than 10 minutes without a bug. And it wasn't the
Oh
cute
yeah,
bugs that
something
Skyrim
weird
had.
happening. Yeah, like
It
some
was
crazy
game
stuff going
breaking.
on, or game breaking, or hell, look, even if you're running around, like you look at some of their initial reviews, like, oh, it's 100, like it's basically a blessing from God. And I'm sitting here going, well, look, I remember I really liked the aesthetic, but there I had a ton of bugs. I like the concept, but remember the combat. Combat was just fine, right? It was really just fine. You're like, okay, this is okay. It's functional. It's not really as important, right? But yeah, 100's out the gate, and then the players are panning it, right? So I'm sure everybody remembers that. Everyone's going, this thing is terrible. It's not optimized. It stutters. It's got crazy game-breaking bugs. I think they updated something and like broke saves. Remember that?
No, I
No.
know, for at least for me. So when I played it, man, I mean, I would be driving and then my car would pop into the air. Like
Oh
it hit a
yeah, yeah.
catapult, right?
I
Just
swear
right up
that
into
sounds
the air.
familiar.
I've seen just cars explode for no reason, driving down the
Oh
road,
yeah, yeah. That was fun though.
popping textures. I mean, if you're in the middle of a mission, I don't know how fun that is. Some of it, no, some of it was genuinely funny, right? Like the eyeballs of the characters would
Oh
be
yeah.
outside their heads and stuff like that. That's comical, but when you want to be immersed in this world, that's kind of stuff takes you out of it. So,
Oh yeah.
what was the other one I talked about with the billboards, right? The developers hadn't finished putting the message on the
Oh
billboard. So they
Are
had
you talking
a
about how the billboards were
placeholder.
like duplicated? Oh yeah, okay, all right, okay, I gotcha. I remember that one. God,
They
it's
had a
been so long.
placeholder there that said,
Ooh.
"We'll put sign here." Right, like the game just launched in this unfinished state,
They just
and for the life of
nobody
me,
made one final pass, right?
well, see, and that's the question you got to ask, right? When they put this game out, and this is often the corporate versus the artist intentions. I'm pretty sure the conversation went something like this in the boardroom, right? The guys who are developing the game, they said, "Hey, this is not ready. We need to push this date back." And the corporate guy said, "Well, guess what? We have stock shares and
Yeah, right.
stockholders and
The
shareholders
government invested in
that
those guys. They did.
hey, they were like, look, we need to put this game out, so you put it out in whatever condition it's ready to go in, and we'll deal with the repercussions later. Little
Yep.
did they realize, and I think
It
this was
was
the
just
first
that
time
bad.
it was
Yeah,
that bad where PlayStation had to take it off their store, right?
that's right. Yeah,
Uh,
that's right.
I don't remember what Xbox. I know Xbox took some actions. There was a class action
I don't
lawsuit.
remember if they took it off the store. I don't remember if Xbox did that.
Yeah, I don't know if they took it off, but there was definitely like at least a disclaimer that Xbox put out,
Yeah,
right? They said, "Look, this is not a finished product. If you're buying this game, buyer beware," right? These were all kind of we look at it now today as normal when games come out that like they have to be
sad.
taken
Yeah.
off. But no, I think these were like one of the first times a AAA title from a major studio had to be these measures had to be taken.
Which is
So,
crazy, right? Because so many of
mhm,
these games have come out, they've been pure dog shit, buggy and crazy, and they never stepped in before that. Which is, it almost makes me think that cash didn't exchange hands from Sony to like CD Projekt Red to keep it on there. That's what it almost makes me think. Because some of these games come out and you're like these big AAA titles. I mean, look at Concord, right? Concord dropped. Nobody liked it. It wasn't even that buggy, but nobody liked it. But nobody took it off the store, right?
that's
Sony
true.
pulled the plug from their
Sony
end
pulled
because
its
they
own
own the
plug. I was
property,
about to
right?
say
Yeah,
Sony. Yeah, Sony
yeah,
pulled its own plug, but
yeah.
you actually had people taking legal action, and like there was a class action lawsuit that was launched by a bunch of gamers, claiming that it was kind of bait and switch, which I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Right
Yeah, I
now,
mean, you remember the trailers, right? Remember the trailers.
those trailers, man. And I want to ask you this, right? So this is the trouble with games like Cyberpunk because there was very little news leading up to the game, and so your mind, your imagination takes over. You're like, what is this? Is everything in the city going to be hackable? Right? You just start
Yep.
going off, and then what you get, the expectations don't meet, what you built the game up to be. So it was a lot of broken expectations from these amazing CGI trailers that they had put out beforehand, and the actual game just being pretty much unplayable. And
Oh yeah.
somehow,
Yeah.
through all of that, there was still a gem in there
Yeah,
somewhere,
isn't this
in
the
that rubbish.
craziest thing? That's the craziest thing because I remember when it came out, like everybody had the same bugs, but again, the combat was but the music and the story, right? And the characters are all so cool and a lot of the side quests kind of were junk, but then like the big side quests were great. And so amidst all the crap, it still was like, okay, you know what? This game is still fun to play. And the music was just again
Phenomenal,
everywhere on
phenomenal.
YouTube at the time. Everybody's watching all the OSTs, everything. I had it on my gym playlist for a while, all right. And it's
Welcome to
just
Night City. The
all that stuff,
Welcome
all of
to
it,
Night
right?
City. Run the
V is another
Jewels.
one.
Yep,
Yeah,
Run
I
the
think that.
Jewels
Yeah,
was
I
the
had.
group
Yep.
that actually had a few songs on there, right? That it was really good.
Just
That was really good music.
oh
I
yeah,
felt like
yeah.
they put
It's
more into the music than they actually did to to
yeah.
making
Those
the
guys
game.
got to do whatever they want. You could tell they did literally whatever they wanted, and they made this just amazing soundtrack. I think you're not even talking about the in-game soundtracks when you're driving around, right?
Mhm.
You turn on the radio, and they just had clones basically. Essentially, had like genre clones, and then they had that stupid ass song that even went viral for a little bit, at least on like the gamer side of the pom pom sheet. Remember that? Pom pom shit, pom
Pampashi,
pom
yeah,
shit, pom pom
yeah,
shit, pom pom
Pampashi.
shit, pom pom
That's
shit.
the
Like,
Japanese. Yeah,
yeah, well, except I remember reading some guys. They're like, I don't know what this is saying.
that's right.
There's,
That's
I never
it's
got a
just
translation for that. They're like, this is just stuff,
it's
that sounds
cutesy
Japanese.
Japanese stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah, like I was
it was
like,
great.
I'm into it, man. I'm into it. So the game launched and they like I said it launched to I got it first day. I had
Yeah,
pre-ordered it
same,
and I
same.
got it, played it when it launched, and something about it kept me with it. Like you said, the combat was really bad, right? I mean, the guns it was your typical, okay, I shoot something, I see numbers, popping up
Yeah,
off a health bar, but the guns didn't feel visceral, right? It wasn't like the guns had good sound quality to them or anything like that.
true. Yeah, yeah.
Um, I just think you could see there was a gem in there from the aesthetics of you stood there and you looked at the city and the design of the city. I think that's one of the things that caught
That's
my
true,
eye.
especially if you like when you went go back out to like what is it? They have like a little Beverly Hills, Hollywood Hills area, right? You
Mhm.
just look at the city and
It
it
popped.
just fits the aesthetic, right? You
It
could look at
does.
that, especially at nighttime, and you've got the crazy like holographic billboards going up in the air and all that stuff.
Yeah.
You get and they they have the whole mission of the Kabuki district, right? I think that's what it's
Hmm.
called. We have all the crazy Japanese aesthetics just going nuts. Yeah, it had the look. It had
It
the
did.
look. It just didn't have
And
the
the
other
different parts
systems.
of the city too,
Yeah.
right? Like
Yep.
there
They're
was
all
a
different. Yeah.
flavor
Mhm.
to
Yep.
different parts of the city. I love the mega buildings, right? These
Yep.
80-story buildings that were like
This
cities
crazy
unto
corporate
themselves.
mega structure, right? Yeah, you're
Hmm.
driving around. It's like super fancy. You can tell that's where all the money is. And you back out, and you've got you basically like the cricket farmers, probably something like that out there, right? And but then you also have just like the remains of these old suburbs. Where is it? With Sixth Street? Is it
Yeah,
the Sixth
yep.
Street gang, right?
Sixth Street Gang,
They were
yep,
out there.
yep.
Yep.
Yep. I didn't like
And it's
them
just
too much.
yeah, they weren't
Not that they
particularly
weren't well
crazy.
done.
Yeah.
It was just they were uh vets who had come back from whatever war they had fought in, right?
Yeah.
And
Well,
the
remember,
Sixth
because
Street.
the last big war in the cyberpunk world basically caused the United States to fracture,
Mhm,
right? Because you had all the what is it, the Big Five? Basically, you had all these like these controlling interests created this
mhm.
war down in South America, and then we went down and fought it, and everybody realized that it was basically a fake war, and that spiraled. If I understand it correctly, that spiraled to all these events that led to essentially the fracturing of the United States, right? To
Okay, okay.
Noosa and Night City and all this stuff, right?
Right. So I think we'd be remiss if we don't mention Cyberpunk is based off of a novel, right? It's or a tabletop game.
They've got years. I mean, that's where all the like all like even a lot of the game of the lore matches up pretty well, as I understand it, to like because you have like some of the characters will talk about events, right,
Mhm.
or lie about events, right, that happen, and the game references them pretty well, right. That's actually a pretty big plot point, is that you're like, oh, this character, I think it was a Johnny's talking about all these events, but he wasn't there, or at least not involved in the way he remembers for these events,
Yeah.
right. And the book readers, the tabletop guys, they'll know that because they'll have the lore. They'll go, oh no no, that was like what's again like ooh, Morgan. I'm trying to. He basically they only is it Blackhand? Is that the guy? He's basically
Ooh.
he's the guy who he took everybody alive, and he's just like a super badass,
Hmm.
right? Like I don't even think he's augmented that much. I think his whole thing he's just
Oh, you're talking about
so
before
good. I think
Adam
it's Morgan.
Smasher. You're talking about he's like
Yeah,
a
no.
bounty hunter.
So you got
Hmm.
Smasher, but how who Smasher actually fights, right? So yeah, spoilers if you guys haven't figured that out. So Smasher doesn't fight Johnny in that cutscene.
Right.
Johnny remembers that, but it's because Johnny's so fucked up, right? We're gonna start talking about the characters now, I guess, right? And the story. And you have instead, like from what I understand, that was actually Morgan Blackhand. Morgan Blackhand, who's this really badass merc. He's a really badass. What do they call them? Solos, right? Or
Hmm.
I think that's right.
So explain what
Um,
solos are, real quick.
yeah, they're basically the merc, but like not just like a merc, like the merc, right? You
The
got this
Merc. Okay.
idea of what it's supposed to be, like these guys. I think even the quote in the game, it's like, no, no, you're not ready to be this unless you're ready to basically bleed buckets of blood and then put it all back in and keep going, right? It's like it's a class of these guys. And I think Morgan Blackhand, I think that's his name. He was like one of the best. He never like basically took everybody alive. He was just that good, right? And
Did
he
he have
ends
a
up
drink
fighting
in
Smasher, right?
the what was the bar called? Did he have a
Oh
drink
yeah,
named after him?
oh, that's a good question. I'm
Because
sure he
that
does.
was
He's a legend in the game, so I'm sure he
yeah.
does. I don't remember.
Yeah. No,
Yeah,
that was
oof.
I see. Even if you and what I loved about it is even if you have no idea about the previous iterations of Cyberpunk, the world did a great job.
Yep.
The
The
game did a
world doesn't
great
hold
job
your
of
hand. It's built
it
up, it's
doesn't.
baked into it, and
Yep.
it says, look, if you want to figure this out, these characters like so much media these days hold your hands like, oh, this is what this is. And this game is like, yeah, you remember that guy? Yeah, he was, yeah, man, what a guy. And your character's sitting there going, well, who is that guy? And like, yeah, well, I don't. And the game is like, we don't fucking know you. Go figure it out.
It was even built into the gameplay, right?
Yep.
When you completed missions, you had a not a meter, but you had like how popular you were, right? You had to get to a
Yep.
certain level of notoriety, right? So
Yeah,
that type of
they tried for that little notoriety system. Yeah. I don't think they did
That's
really.
integral to Cyberpunk, right? That
Yeah,
is
yeah,
integral to like you be going from unknown, right, to the greatest merc or sitting on the pantheon or the Mount
yeah.
Rushmore of the greatest
I mean,
solos to ever do it.
V by the end of the game is like one of is crazy. Is
No, yeah, that's what
because
it's meant to be.
normally, yeah, because normally he would be to also he be under cyber psychosis, but I think the whole thing is since he has Johnny in his head, that I guess helps him deal with it. Because otherwise, you chrome yourself up so much by the end of the fucking game, especially some of these players, that you'd be gone. You'd be completely lost. But because he has Johnny in his head, that seems to like deal with it. Because he goes to like a freak of
Hmm.
nature within essentially. Honestly, I don't even think the game. It's like what's a couple weeks, a month. It's not long.
It's not
He's
long,
just
no.
he's
It's not
running it,
long.
dude. Right?
Yeah.
And again, at no point does the cyber psychosis kick in because he's got Silverhand living in his head, which Silverhand's casting is still kind of kind of an interesting one, right? Right? Because you have
Yeah,
Keanu
yeah.
Reeves. Keanu Reeves is kind of a character actor. He
He's got a
he has that
lane,
one like
man. He's
yeah,
got a
he's got a
lane.
lane.
Keanu's
He does
got a
that whole
lane, and I love
scene.
him.
Yep. This yeah, and he doesn't even do he doesn't do an awful job. It's not amazing, but it's not awful. But there's that whole scene I think of where that he's got this is back when they're flashbacking and they're filming that I think it was wasn't Rogue. It wasn't Rogue. Was it other girl? I'm trying to remember. It was the girl who it was his girlfriend, right? The one who becomes the AI.
Hmm.
She basically gets hit by the uh the virus that rips your soul out. What's that, man? What's that? That's literally part of the whole main story. Whatever. But she gets hit by it essentially, and he's the journalist guy's over there recording. He's like, "Are you still rolling?" And I don't think that. Even in the moment, I was like, "What the hell was that?" But you
Look,
know what? It's okay
look.
because the game
No,
still sells you that he's such a badass,
I'm taking
and
a
they
hard
sell you on
line.
all his relationships. You know?
I'm
Oh,
taking a
you're
hard
taking a hard
line.
line on
I'm
that.
taking a hard
Okay,
line. No, I
okay, that's
love
bad
Keanu
casting.
Reeves. I love The Matrix. I love John Wick. Right. But let me tell you something, man. It was grating on my nerves every
Yeah,
time
it gets you a little bit here and there.
It did.
Yeah,
Now, I was forced, and it grew. He grew on me. Like that's now Johnny Silverhand, and
yeah,
he lives in your head. And that's another
yeah,
thing the game does really well is it's you and him, right? It almost
yeah,
became like a buddy cop like movie because
yeah.
you started out antagonistic with each other, right? He invaded your mind and he's taking over your mind slowly, and you're trying to figure out a way to get him out, and that's going to kill him getting him out, right? So you go from that to now you two are kind of understanding each other and have sympathy
Oh
for each other,
yeah.
understand each
I
other's
mean, that's
past,
that's
right?
one of the main endings, right? Like you forego everyone else, all their
Hmm.
support. You just stroll in the Arasaka Tower, and Johnny's like, "Oh, let's party like it's fucking what is he like 2026 or something like that?"
Yeah,
It's like let's
yeah,
party like it's
yeah.
2026, man. You just go slaughter everybody. He's down with it, right?
Yep.
And at that point, you guys, and there's a whole thing in the game where like depending on what you say, it does unlock. If I even the very beginning of the game came out, like depending on how you treat Johnny, that will of course change how I think some of the interactions later in the game a little bit. I think. It's been a
So that's
while, but
another
I
thing
believe that
too.
was like that's something they did.
The story, amazing. I think
Oh
that
yeah,
so we talked about the aesthetic and the look of the city and the feel of the city. The story, I think, gets to me a 10 out of 10. Um,
oh yeah. It's so
story,
many twists and turns, right?
right?
Like the
Side
music, of
missions.
course, like syncing. Yeah, the side missions are amazing. You got like River, you got Judy, you got all these great characters, and the best part is sometimes the story ends well. I'm sure you remember this, right? You got River's story ends pretty well.
Mhm.
Judy's story, I mean, it can end well for Judy. Everyone else, it's just, and they really sell it to you. They're, like some of these stories, they're just not meant to end well. That's not the kind of world
That's
Night
right.
City is in.
That's
It
right.
is, it's a meat grinder. Some people just get out. That's it. That's
So,
the best you can hope for.
so in asking that, who's your favorite character? Or you don't have to go character, but maybe what was your favorite uh faction maybe, or what maybe what was your favorite
Hmm.
mission?
Oh man, the river mission still stands out to me today. Like it's the one I can pull right into my head, right? 'Cause you go meet up this detective and you just start hitting shit. You're going into companies, going, hey, what's going on? Do you know this? Or you're looking for this guy's cousin. Like he's personally invested. You start getting personally invested. You start chasing him down. Like I really like that. Like Judy's story was cool, but the thing is, like a lot of people are also like, oh, I wish like Judy, like I wish she was straight. I'm like, yeah, but like She's
There
not.
was a lot of that. Yeah.
So yeah, I was like, she's not. So don't even worry about it. Like I know, like they even have things in the game. Like if you're a girl and you kind of like are checking her out, she's like, oh hey, yeah, we're okay. If you're a dude, you do it to her. And by the way, her whole like the whole scene where you're swimming down in the water with her, right? That's pretty sick. It is
Yeah.
pretty cool. Or you remember that
Right.
mission? You're scuba diving, but
Yeah,
River,
yeah.
man,
You
River
go
had
to
a
see
great.
her. You go to
Yep,
see her home, right,
yep,
underwater, and like what got
yep.
flooded, and yeah, that's a very, very good mission. Absolutely.
Killer mission, man, and it's all cool because here's the thing: there's no combat in that mission. It's just letting the characters breathe, which a lot of it's the even the guy from Arasaka, the guy who saves you. I don't remember his name. He's
Takamura?
like the yeah
Is
yeah
it
yeah. They're
Takamura?
basically essentially the loyal guy for he's loyal to what's her name?
The
He's
daughter
I'm
of
trying to remember which characters.
Arasaka.
Yeah, he's loyal to her, right?
Yeah.
Basically he breaks off, and even then he's really cool. You can understand his motivation, and sometimes the game just plops you guys down and you don't do anything.
Hmm.
It gives the characters, someone to set it really well, just room to breathe,
That's
right? You
right.
get to sit there with these guys, and not every word has to be said. Not every situation needs an exposition. Sometimes you just sit there and you soak in. Like at some point, I think you're watching the Arasaka compound. You guys are just settling in. And you just hang out, man,
That's
because
it.
you got nothing else to do. Because that's what you'd
That's
be
it.
doing. You just be sitting there watching the compound. That's
You
it. That's
might.
all you'd
I
be doing.
mean, you're doing that. There was one. Speaking of that scene, Takamura, and you are overlooking some. You got to break into this compound, and you're in
Hmm.
a abandoned construction building,
Yeah, yeah, and you
right?
and you fight
And
basically
there's
one of
a
his essentially compete like his colleagues or like what you call his contemporaries. The guy who's
right,
like
but
you
even
fight. He's a
before
boss
that,
fight,
right?
right?
There was
Yeah.
just a black cat, or I don't even know it's a black cat, but there was a cat, and they give you a little bit of like a deeper kind of look that cats apparently, or animals, period. Like you wonder why there are no animals in Night City, right?
I'm fucking dead.
Because all the animals have essentially abandoned the city, right? There's only rats and roaches left. That's it, right? I think they said that it had been years since the last cat or dog had been spotted in Night
They
City.
wiped out all
And
the
he
birds
said,
because I think like a bird flew too, right? Is that what
maybe,
happened?
maybe,
Yeah,
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 yeah. So that, and then he said that something about like, I think it was good luck or bad luck to see a cat or something like that. And he talks about his
yeah,
childhood, where he comes from, and how he was an orphan, and the Arasaka had kind of picked him up out of obscurity, right? So
yeah,
in
yeah.
that
Exactly.
small
That's
scene,
why he's so loyal, right? He
that's why he's
establishes
so
everything.
loyal.
Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
And that small scene, you get so much, right? You get so much packed into there, where you get character building, you get the city itself gets a little character building, right? Because the city is a character itself. And there's just so many scenes like that throughout the whole story. My favorite character is Takamura, actually. It's not a popular choice. I mean, there's so many great characters, but for him, I think I always like that Ronin kind of loyal to the end type of
Yeah.
characters,
And
right?
that's exactly what he is.
And
Yeah.
that's what he is. Yeah, I love that, where he has a moral code that doesn't switch based on his situation, right?
Yeah.
He could
He
just
is an
disappear.
Arasaka man, and that's
Right,
it. An honorable
right,
Arasaka man, because he
right.
saves you, but it is ultimately in service of, in his mind, Arasaka, right?
That's right. That's right.
Because
But
that's part of the whole thing.
a close second is Adam Smasher. I
Oh yeah,
am
smash. All right.
fascinated by Smasher. I think you have a character like that where for some reason, I think they said 97% of him is now machine, but
Yeah, which
he
is
can
crazy,
handle.
right? Yeah,
Yeah, so how come
he's
he
built
didn't go
different.
cyber
Right?
psychotic,
He
right?
is literally he's like an AI in a human body or something like that. If I had to guess, because obviously they could handle it, right? Or he's just built different because they even have it in the I guess it's kind of a good time to bring up too because they had the Edge Runners thing. They got really popular, right?
Mm-hmm.
He was in it because in the video game when he came out and you first fight him, he's a little bit underwhelming, right? He's just a big roided out guy in a cyborg suit. You kind of kick his ass, right? And then I know they updated it now to where he's a lot more dangerous, so he can use things like the time dilation stuff. He can use like more dangerous weapons. He's a lot more dangerous now in the game. But in Edge Runners, he's super dangerous. Like this guy, which is exactly how he's supposed to be. This guy is not to be trifled with. He shows up, you leave. That's the answer. Only the
Right,
best guys could even go toe to toe with this guy. And yeah, V again eventually is like he's so tricked out and everything. He could do it. But everyone else, they show it. Like because even in Edge Runners, I think it's the guy David.
David, that's
David's like
his
the main
name.
character, right?
Hmm.
David, I
Hmm.
think was it David Ramirez or something like that.
Yes,
He's in a
yes.
lot of ways he's built different, right? He kind of almost goes psychosis, but he pulls himself back, which is a hell of a thing. But even then, like he doesn't, even with a crazy suit and everything, got on the crazy chrome and everything he gets. Smasher is just like, whatever, dude. You're like, you're amateur. This is kindergarten shit. He doesn't
That's
care.
right.
You know,
Right. Yo,
that's all he does.
Like I said, Adam Smasher to me, I think if you ever want to do a DLC, right? And I know you haven't played Phantom Liberty, right? So
Yeah.
I'm gonna be throwing some stuff out there. But if you ever want to do a DLC on Adam Smasher, I think that would be fascinating, right?
Yeah, well, I mean, why
To
not?
delve
Right?
into
I mean, they
him.
probably won't, but he'll be
No,
around if they
I
make
think
another
they're
game. He'll be
done
around for the next one, right?
in 20 years.
Yeah, sure.
whenever
But he'll come
whenever
back,
that game
right?
comes out.
They got to do The Witcher 4 first about, Ciri, good luck guys. And then they'll probably come back to Cyberpunk, right? Look, I think they said they just breached like
Well, they have
35
to.
million copies,
They have to.
right?
You
So
can't.
they're
This
doing
is
okay.
this IP is now too valuable,
Yeah,
right?
no one else has it. No one else touched it, right? Probably because of course it is so difficult, right? Like there's so much. Again, there's so much to do, so much, and they ended up condensing it. They're like, we're just gonna go a story of one merc, which is V, and they're just gonna go that way, right? And V, I don't know. V's kind of an interesting one because like some people like the female character, sometimes people like the male character. I thought they were both like fine. It was just
Mhm.
sometimes he didn't feel the voice actors didn't feel like they were really like selling like some of the slang of the universe felt a little
Right.
bit out of place.
Yeah.
They're like,
Yeah.
oh,
Hey,
like
Chew.
instead of just instead of like dropping it in, it's very natural. Sometimes they kind of accented it, like
That's
it would be
right.
anything but that, right? It's not like there's not a lot of extra. It's a nitpick, I know, but it pulled me out every now and then. I'm like that just doesn't sound like some guy in the street,
It sounded
you
it
know?
sounded pretty bad. No, and I didn't think about that, but when I was first playing the game, I said, man, I said, damn, they definitely had to come up with better slang terms because
Yeah, better
like you
slang,
said,
right?
it was like when they would say it, they would say choom, and I'm like, you don't have
Choom,
to.
what's up, Choom?
Yeah, you
Yeah,
can
you don't
just like
exactly.
say
You
it
don't have to
quicker. Yeah,
elongate it. You
right,
just go, "What's up,
right.
Choom?" Right
Yeah.
there you go. Like you slip it in. It's a
Hmm.
natural part of your lingo, and that's maybe they'll do again. That's just probably how they directed the voice actors to say it. They're like, hey, really say it like this, and it's like, man, but I would to have been in the room and just kind of look, let's just relax a little bit, right? These
Relax.
guys
Yeah,
like go down
yeah.
to like Compton or any of these inner cities and listen to how these guys talk, right?
Oh,
They're
it's
not
quick.
like
It's quick.
it's quick.
It's real
It's
quick.
dropped in. It's peppered in the conversation, right? And this guy, of course, and depending on, I mean, the thing I could give is because V has multiple backgrounds, right? You can give him a corpo background,
What did you
which I
choose?
always did.
You
I
did
went
corpo? Oh,
corpo
I was
because
straight
I thought it'd
corpo.
be cool to be like basically betrayed by Arasaka, so he even has more of a personal stake in screwing these guys over. But they don't. The only problem is you remember, right? They didn't really actually do that much. Give you a
Well, no,
few
no,
lines of
they
dialogue here and there.
even. I mean, your choice of where you came from didn't really impact the game the way I
Didn't
thought it
really
would.
impact anything.
No.
Everyone expected. Oh, you're a street kid. Okay, maybe you can flirt a little bit more in this way, flirt a little more this way, or you're a corpo. Okay, you're gonna be a little bit more in. But I'm like, but
What was
it
a
didn't really.
nomad? The nomad was the third one.
Yeah, nomad.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
nomad, street kid,
terrible.
and corpo.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
had no desire ever to be a nomad. Like I looked at that
yeah.
life and I'm like, that's no, I'm good. Yeah.
Living out in
So
trailer
go.
parks, driving around.
Yeah, I mean, not even. They live in tents and stuff, man. I'm like, no.
Yeah, exactly.
But
Sorry, Pam. Or it's Pan Am. Sorry, Pan Am.
Pan Am, she was a
My
badass.
bad.
She was a
Yeah,
badass,
look,
right?
well, that's the only thing is like, and sometimes it was like she was straight up like ride or die, and that's sometimes I wish like the story
I
would let you do.
love it.
Like you would show up. Well, no, I like that. I like that her character will plow on kind of with what she wants to do. But it felt weird later in the story when your character has like a little bit more pull with her, and you couldn't like change her mind at all. Like, hey, maybe let's do this a little bit differently. It was just, oh no, we're doing it or we're not. And okay, they have to do that, right? It's game time, it's game development time, right? You can only have so many branching storylines.
Well,
But
what I
still, I
liked
was
about her
like one of
is
them here would have made more sense.
when she found out, because her personality was consistent. When she found out that
Yeah,
you had
that's true.
that, like, Johnny Silverhand,
Yep.
corrupt
You
file
got to
in your
get the
head,
Arasaka Tower.
she
That's right.
used that. Like, she was like, no. She's like, that same hard headedness. She was like, nope. What do we need to do? Like,
Yep.
I'm ready.
It's true.
Like,
Yeah.
how
Well,
do we
she
need
she
to
threw
handle it?
into it. Yep.
Yep. So I liked her, but I want to circle back to the Edge Runners, right? So
Yeah.
the TV
Okay.
show Edge Runners was really good, which is weird for an adaptation based off a video game, right? Now we're getting
Well,
better.
it's also
The
weird
track
because it came
record,
from Netflix, right? But,
it did come
still.
from that. Well, I
Shocker.
think it came from this because Netflix buys studios. It came from, I don't know if you
Yeah.
ever heard of the anime called Kill la Kill or Kill
Yeah.
la
Yeah.
Kill.
Oh, it's those guys, right? What's that?
Yes.
What's that studio called? Studio Trigger?
Yeah, I
Trigger?
think
That's
it's
one?
Trigger. It might be Trigger. I don't remember the studio's name, but Netflix oversaw it as a Netflix production, but they used the experts
They
from
must
that
have they must
studio.
have slipped under the radar somehow because it didn't feel like it had any of the normal Netflix extras sprinkled in there
Right.
for
They let them
points.
they let
This
them
it
cook,
was
right? They said,
That was
"Hey, you
weird.
go in
Yeah.
there and do
Nope.
what you do, and we just want our, our logo on the
That's
on the
right. You got
title.
the name
That's it."
attached to it, and that
Mhm.
one, yeah, you're right. It cooked. I mean, what's the best part of that series to you? Right.
Man, I think to me, David and the way they tied him back into the actual game, right? The
Hmm.
series, the Edge Runners, for me, it had good characters, and I mean the cyber psychosis they explored that. But to me, it was more interesting that they tied it back into the game. There's a side mission where you get
Yes. Yeah,
David's
they added
coat,
that.
right?
Yep.
And they added that
I
in.
think you get the shotgun too, right? The
Uh,
chick,
m-
the small chick. I forget
maybe,
her name.
maybe. I'm
Rebecca.
not gonna say no. I'm
I
not
want to say
gonna
it's
say no.
Becca, right? I think it's like a pink shotgun she has. 'Cause she gets the gorilla arms, this giant ass shotgun. I think you can get the shotgun. It's like the big heavy caliber shotgun. That's the one. It's like
Yes. Okay.
specifically that version, right?
Right.
And
But you
then I
get the
don't
yellow
know. They have
jacket, right? You get
Yep,
David's yellow
yep.
jacket, and they even
I
talk
think you
about
get
him in game.
Lucy's wire. Yeah, they do, and I think they get Lucy's nanowire, right? Because that
Maybe
was
I
her thing.
didn't.
She had
Okay.
nanowire. Yeah.
Dude, and so that's another thing, right? There's so many, even now, with the hundreds of hours that me and you put into these games, there's still things that are left
Oh yeah.
undiscovered, right? There's still things
Oh
we
yeah.
haven't jumped into. But yeah, when you go back in there, you actually try to find David, and they give you a warning to say, "Hey, you don't want to go down this path," because I forgot it was somebody in David's crew. I think in the series, only one person survived, right? Everybody else
Yeah. Wasn't
pretty
it
much
the
died. It was a
Let's see.
driver.
Yep. Yeah, the driver lived and Lucy
And
lived,
Lucy lived,
right?
right, right,
Everyone
yeah.
else died either from like cyber psychosis, they got hunted down, or they got killed by Smasher,
Hmm.
right? Because remember Becca's death is super violent, right?
Yeah,
She just
yeah.
Smasher just shows up. Like at that point,
She's
he's been
super
fighting David for a
tragic,
little bit,
man.
and he just
Yeah.
shows up and just bodies Becca, and that's it. She's
Yep.
gone, dude.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
and that's it.
No remorse. No remorse. And so when
Well,
in the game, the guy who survived, he tells you, "Hey, this is a dead end. Don't go down this road." Right? I said, "Whoa." Never seen that before, right? You
oh,
tie in a series, TV show, and you tie it back into the video game. Great storytelling, great tie-in. And so now you're starting to see what is the game came out in 2020, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
2025. All right. So essentially they had about 4.5 to 5 years to get this game back on its feet. And I think it's safe to say that now this game is a masterpiece.
Yeah, like I've heard like okay, I went back and played a little bit when they dropped Phantom Liberty just to see the update, right? And I know they'd updated a lot of like the police behavior because one thing like again it's stuff like that makes the world feel weird. You turn a corner and like 10 police cars spawn or stuff like that, and you're like okay, this is kind of weird. Basically, one of the complaints was it wasn't fun to commit crimes in Night City, and it should be. You're in Night City, right? And they had a bunch of stuff like that. And then of course they changed all the gear system and how that worked. And again, like yeah, they did a ton of work, added a bunch of vehicles. They changed the vehicle because that was a big thing, right? You're driving around. Like if you go to first person, like the driving, I remember it was kind of so-so. Like, it wasn't as good as Grand Theft Auto, for example. It was nowhere near it.
No,
And you're
nowhere.
especially if you drone to go into first person, your guy is sitting so far back. He's such a terrible view. You cannot see anything, right? It's terrible. Then I know they've updated that now, so they poured time into it. They've added more. They've added the expansions. They've added just random little DLC. All the bug. Yeah, now it's probably prime.
No,
Best time to go play it.
it's a different game now. I mean, you talked about the vehicle, the controls. It felt like dragging a tugboat sideways through molasses, right?
Yeah.
The driving controls were it was undrivable. I hated every time
Yep.
I had to get into a vehicle. The clothing, I get what they were trying to do. Cyberpunk is about how cool you look, but
Yeah.
there was no reason if you wanted stats, which I think they had stats originally,
Yes.
but there
Yeah. They
was
had
very
stats and all
little
the
to
gear.
do.
Yeah.
But it was very little. It really didn't make much impact on your play style, right?
Well, I think they tied a lot of the armor and stuff to clothes initially, so that's why. And again, but yeah, okay, yeah. So this, if I remember, they tied a lot of stuff to clothing originally. So you were running around. And if you play for stats, well, your guy's running around dressed in like he's got the shortest shorts, he's got some weird ass jacket, he's got some stupid chrome on his head. You look, like some crazy bum that's just been digging through the dumpster.
Right.
But you
Okay,
had the
that's
best
what it was.
stats,
Yeah. Yeah.
right?
That's what it
And then
was.
they untangled those
They
two. And
untangled that. That's what they did.
now it's just like, look, the stats are character based. You wear what you want to wear. You add armor where you want to add armor, and the clothes are just how you want to look. Which is because everybody wanted the samurai jacket, Johnny's samurai jacket, which is sick, and David has like a variant of that, if I remember correctly. And they had, all these they had specific clothing that you wanted to wear. But you could why wear it when you could wear the tank top that's like level 30 that has, gives you like another 50 armor, and you're like, it's a fucking tank top, dude.
Tank top with a hole in it.
Top.
Yeah, it's a tank top with a hole in it. It's giving you 50
just
extra
pull it
armor.
out of the dumpster. But hey, this tank top is a gold tank top, man. It's made of mithril or something like that. And it's like, and I will say the one thing they didn't tie in is in The Witcher. They mentioned that Ciri basically visits that world. She visits Night City. You never ever get a glimpse of her, which
That's
is
a deep cut.
Like it's their,
That's a very deep cut.
their property, and you never even get like a glimpse of Ciri or someone that looks like Ciri for like a half second, or maybe like a small side quest, right? And she mentions it, and she's like, "Yeah, we were there for a while, and then we left." And you're like, "Come on, man! Like, just you got the voice actors. You're spending the GDP of a small country on this. You might as well just throw them in."
Yeah,
Right?
I would say if coming up with the new Cyberpunk, I think that'll be a little nod, right? Even if you don't
Hopefully.
actually see the character, maybe you see a sword that's being sold in a pawn shop, and it happens to be her sword that she left, or something like that. So I think that
anything.
would be
Throw it in
pretty
there.
cool.
And something just really yeah, exactly. A cool little nod is all anybody was ever asking for.
Right.
Now, it's funny because we talk. Sorry. Anyway, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say the biggest improvement that they had was the skills, right? The skill tree.
Oh,
they
yeah.
went back in,
changed everything about that,
and they revamped that. I mean, I forgot to mention with the vehicles. Now your vehicles, you could shoot, you could do drive-bys, right? Like you could do the cool.
Did they actually add? Okay, yeah, I remember.
Yep, they put weapons now in the vehicles, right? So now your vehicles have Gatling guns and missile launchers and stuff like that.
Yeah, why wouldn't you, man? Come on,
That's it.
Like what the hell?
Yep. Something that's not as big to the gameplay, but is very important to the immersion. They added the train system back in.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yep, you got the little. It's not even a subway. It's like
it's a tram.
It's up top, right? Yeah, it's a tram system. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it was something where a lot of people they had it closed when the game first opened because they just didn't they didn't have enough time. And now you can actually sit in the train like the trailer shows you.
You're just cruising.
Watch people get on, watch them get off, look outside the window, see the city just kind of exist without you being
purely aesthetic,
interacting with it. Yep. Just
purely aesthetic, just getting you in the city because of this. A lot of these games, like these big open world games, really shine a lot of times when you can just go around. You don't fast travel. You go, I need to get there. Okay, I'm going to get there. And that's when you learn the layout, right? You learn the area. You can take the tram, you walk in the city, you just discover stuff, and it makes the whole city feel a lot more alive versus just, I teleport here, I teleport there, I teleport here. It's like it's much more fun to play that way.
One of my favorite things to do in the city, right, is when it rains, right? Get in the first person and you can hear the raindrops hitting the roof of the car, right? And just put on the jazz station, right?
Yeah, just cruise,
just cruise through the city, like kind of follow the street lights and the street rules and stuff like that, not drive too fast. And that, man, that's
you're just cruising. Yeah, you just soak all the atmosphere. And they nailed it. Even at the beginning, even when it was all buggy, they nailed that atmosphere.
They did.
And then, and again, we lightly touched on it, but the music is just, that was the really selling point too. The combat music was great. The music when like the story beats are all unfolding, it's honestly the closest thing in my mind is like Expedition 33, where they really match the music to the moment, where it just really sells you, like it increases the stakes, right? When the twists play out and the music enters this kind of dystopian, again, very, 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 I don't want to call it harsh, but even the music knows that something has just gone very awry, right?
Oh yeah. That's a big part of music design.
Mm-hmm.
You've got to have the music crescendo when you know something's going down, right? It's like a warning to the player to say, "Hey, get ready, something's about to happen." Right? That's crucial in video game. That's something actually. I don't throw too many bones to Destiny these days, but Destiny's music has always been superb, and they do the same thing, right? What was your favorite faction because you didn't talk about the side quests and the facts. We had the Voodoo Boys. We
Yeah,
had, you said, the
okay.
Sixth Street Gang. We had who were the
The
guys? The
animals, right?
Maelstrom. We had Maelstrom, right?
A
I
maelstrom,
think
yeah.
that was one of the first missions where you go in there
Yeah.
and they're cutting.
Yeah,
I
but
think
you
in
don't
order
get
to
you don't
join
get
the
that much of
gang,
them, right? Yep.
you
Well,
do.
no,
No, you
you're
do. You do. You do.
you
When in order to get into the gang, it was one of the first missions where what's the guy who died? Your best friend,
Jackie,
big guy,
right?
Jackie, right? Yep.
Yeah, so
So you
Jackie's
go in there
with
with
you then.
Jackie,
Yep.
and
To get the
I
bot.
thought it was
Yep.
disgusting to find out that you had to like cut your eyes out essentially and replace them,
Well, yeah, exactly. They
right?
have like a
With
whole
their
thing, and you basically have to chrome the shit out of yourself, right? Like
it's
the
their
main guy,
initiation.
what's his name, Rourke or something like that? He just has like a big eye in front of it in his head,
It's
right?
wild,
And
absolutely
it's all
wild.
chromed out. And yeah, the sad thing though is at least, and again, maybe it's changed, but they didn't do that much of those guys. Like you don't really, aside from like seeing them in a few side missions after that, they're not really involved, which is too bad because they were a cool faction, right? They even kind of set it up a little bit like, oh, you can kill this guy, or you can let the other leader out who's just kind of sitting, he's stewing in a closet somewhere with like strapped up some explosives. They don't do as much with that. And again, that was originally. So if we go back to that, maybe it's a little bit different now. Maybe there's a little bit more of a faction. Maybe you could, because that was a big complaint. People were like, well, why can't I join the gangs? Like,
Yeah,
why
or
can't I go
join
be Maelstrom?
a corporation, right?
Exactly.
Because
Why can't I join Arasaka and just
Militech,
go screw with it's again
Militech.
what's Nusa and who Militech, exactly. Go
Hmm.
screw with Militech or something like that. Instead, you just kind of go this. Yeah, your faction is really just you. You can't join Sixth Street. You can't join any of these guys. You're just kind of doing again your Merc faction basically.
Yeah,
That's it.
yeah,
And those guys exist for you to shoot at, like the animal. Yeah, you got the animals, right? I think it's what they were called, right? That was that whole mission with
yeah.
the Voodoo Boys
Animals.
send you in. Yeah, I think it was the animals, like
Yeah, the
the roided
Jack
out Jack
dudes.
guys, right? Exactly. All right, and again, with the Voodoo Boys, same thing. You don't really get an option to ever like do anything with more with those factions other than well, you shoot at these guys when they're around.
Well, who'd you like?
You know,
Who did anybody stand out? Any groups stand out to you?
trying to, they all kind of they were unique, but they all did kind of blend together a little bit because again, 'cause you don't do anything with them, right? Like I
Okay.
like the ideas of all of them, like. The Sixth Street one was kind of cool because you have all these guys, kind of like you talked about before, basically burned out and disillusioned from the previous wars. But then again, they don't do anything. Like the Voodoo Boys specifically, I don't like, but it's just because in the game they're just assholes to you. Right? So
From
I'm like, all right, I'll kill all you guys. I don't care.
yeah,
But
yeah.
if you got a chance to maybe properly join them instead of just be used by them, maybe I'd like them more because they're kind of cool. They're set up in Pacifica. They're doing all their own thing. Nobody wants to truck with these guys. It's not like Sixth Street, some of these other guys where if Militech or Arasaka rolled in, no, nobody really wants to fuck with the Voodoo Boys because they're so good at the hacking, right? And so they could really
Netwatch.
they
You had
Yep. But
Netwatch,
yeah,
which
it's right. You
they
get
don't get a
Netwatch. Yeah, you
big
can't.
mention.
Another thing, you can't join. You get mentions. You get that. He's only like you only get that one character from Netwatch, right? The Netwatch guy. And he's
You
set up
get
in
a
the set up
second
in the
one
Animal Stadium
in the DLC. You get a
in
second
the DLC.
Netwatch
Okay.
operative.
Yeah,
But I
they
thought
were
that was cool
cool,
too
right?
about
Yeah,
the Black Wall, right?
yeah, yep. That's their whole
Where they
thing.
talked
They're
about
watching
the
out for the Black Wall,
AIs.
keeping. Yeah. Why couldn't you join them? Right? Wouldn't it would have been like I was like, dude, like I've never been like a gang. Like even when I like look at the Grand Theft Autos and games like that, I'm never like, oh, I want to join a gang. I'm like, how do I? Like, again, I don't even want to join the cops. I'm like, hey, how do I join like something like Netwatch, where it's this elite organization of guys doing this stuff? Kind of cool, but they don't really give you an opportunity. Again, as far as I remember, right? So it's like, yeah,
So
I guess they were pretty cool though.
I think that's a good segue to say with the next Cyberpunk, right? What do we
Yeah.
want to
Okay.
see for the next Cyberpunk? What are some key
Do you
features?
think? Do you think it would make more? Yeah, key features, key maybe like time. I don't call it timeline. Like, oh yeah, I guess like would you want it set in? That's kind of a question. Do you want to set it like the same like time frame as it is now, right? In the 70s, or would you jump forward like 20, 30 years and let some events unfold and separate the events from whatever you're going to do
I
from
think
the
20
previous
years is a
game?
nice jump where you get a
Nice
clean
jump.
kind of everybody who's here has kind of had to hand the baton to new people, but everybody still remembers, right?
Yeah. Or
So
they're
you
still
can
alive for the most part, right?
some might be, yeah, like Pan Am might
Yeah.
be it'll be older, right? If they survived, right? You still have a chance to come across them, so you don't go too far in the future where they're dead. But you also have a new generation, right? 20 years is a new generation to say, okay,
Yeah. Yeah.
we got some up and coming people who haven't been mentioned yet. As far as settings, I think what they've done a good job of is you could put it any. I mean, I would love to see New York, of course, because what does New
What
York
does New
look
York
like,
even
right?
look like? Yeah, because the East Coast is still all Noosa, right? I think it's really the
Don't
East
it, it
Coast is
might
still
be
Noosa, and I want to say like Texas and like the South is they're like their own thing,
there.
if I remember
Yep,
correctly. And then
yep.
you kind of have like these collection of free cities. And again, I may be mixing this up. I'm pretty sure Night City and these other places on the West Coast are kind of like they're kind of doing their own thing,
Is Night
right?
City
They're
West
kind of like
Coast?
yeah, Night City's West Coast. Yeah.
Okay, okay, yeah. I mean, even from a geological standpoint, right? The coast has probably gotten reclaimed a little bit by the ocean, right? So, is
Yep.
there flooding in New York? Had they had to raise the whole city? Is it a canal city now, right? Or Miami, right? You can take it and make
Yep.
it this decadent city of just like corporal playground. Like,
Yep.
I think
Oh
that
yeah,
would
yeah.
be really interesting.
Yeah. Because yeah, and you bring up a good point too. Because the world of cyberpunk, they even mention it offhand. The average temperature is like what is it? It's like 40 degrees Celsius or something like that. Like
Hmm.
it's hot.
It's hot.
Like
There
it's
is no
really
snow. Yeah,
cooking in there.
it don't
Yeah, there's
snow.
not a
Yeah.
lot. There's no snow.
Hmm.
Like unless you're in a very certain parts of the world, right? So you're gonna love the ice caps are probably have probably melted in a lot of ways, or at least dumped a lot more water. Right. So the world's very different. So the East Coast would be pretty interesting because New York itself is always just a really cool environment. You'd have to slice it down. You'd have to pare it down a little bit, right? Or at least leave some areas for DLC. Again, I don't know. I'm not as familiar with the world itself, But yeah, that maybe the East Coast feels like it would make sense.
I
That
didn't
way,
care
again, that
too
way
much for.
you're disconnected, like, but you get the hints of the old characters, maybe.
That's it. I didn't care too much for the outer where the nomads hung out. Right, there was that part of
Yeah,
the
it's just
city
desert,
where it's
right?
opened up. Yeah,
Like
take that out. Like,
yeah,
I mean, in a cyberpunk game, to me, I just want different parts of the city to breathe. Right, I want to see.
yeah,
I don't really have any interest in forests or anything that's, nature. I want to see
yeah.
the
It's
city.
just the city. At
Hmm.
most, you're moving between areas in the city. Maybe you get like a pocket of nature,
Hmm.
right? Which I
Yeah,
thought
like a
they,
park, like
yeah,
Central Park, right? What would Central Park look
yeah,
like
exactly,
in New York City now? Would
exactly.
they
Yeah,
have preserved it,
that's a good
right?
one. Yeah,
Right? Or you could even go to Coruscant route, right? Where they started building layer upon layer, right? When they say
yeah, and
Coruscant in
that's
Star Wars,
yeah.
there's levels, right? Like there's different
Yep,
levels. So
yep.
maybe old New York is underground, right? And new New York is built on top
Yeah,
of
well,
it.
that's like Knights of the Old Republic, right? That was literally was it Tanis was I think was that the world, right? I'm trying to remember where basically remember Knights of the Old Republic, the first one, you come in and the under layers, that's where you're going. You go to like the bottom
Mm,
layers where all the poor people are, and then you get up to the top, that's where the rich are, and then you can go even farther where all the mutants and crazy crap is, and that's at the
yes.
very bottom layer,
Yes. Right.
right? And so you get
Yep.
all these, yeah, and you really could. I mean, it's been done before, but with the aesthetic and with the clearly the mastery of the environment they managed to curate, I feel like they could probably do something really cool with
They
that.
could do something, yeah, and that can be your different where you get a little variation in the environment, right? I don't need to stick
Yeah,
you in the forest. We can
yeah.
stick you in
You don't need
old
to go off. Oh,
subways,
let's go upstate. Like, okay, yeah, let's only go upstate if we go just a little bit into some of those mansions.
right? That exactly, right?
That's it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. Where maybe a corporation is based up there, but I
yeah,
want to go deeper into the subway system, right? Because
yeah. You want to
even
get
today,
lost in the city. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, even today in New York, they have subway systems they've just sealed off. They don't
sure.
collapse the tunnels, and those are almost like it's like walking through a time machine, right? You got
Yeah,
subway platforms that were built in the 40s and 50s, and they've just essentially sealed them off. And you go
yep.
down there, and you've got like time capsules of what it looked like when they were sealed off. So
I
doing
think.
things like that in the
Uh,
game would be amazing.
Yeah, they. Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think that's like the second or third TMNT live action movie. That's where they were living. They were living in those old, basically
Oh yeah, there you
sealed off
go.
subway tunnels.
Yep.
And they're just down there. Yeah, and you could do anything with that. So that'd be interesting. Yes, a little bit of a time skip. That seems like a good idea. Now here's the big one. Do you want it? So they clearly, and I guess this almost ties back a little bit. So they tied it to a character because it makes sense. You want to have a character-driven story. Does it make sense to still do that next one where they tie it to where it's just one character and that's like, yeah, you make choices, but it's just this one character path you're following, or do they branch out and give you maybe I mean, again, I can't imagine the work involved, but you give like a few character options, and you get different choices, and they're really based around that instead. Again, so probably very, very difficult and a ton of work, but I mean, think about it, because instead of just going, oh, I'm going to be V, instead you're like, oh, I'm a corpo stockbroker, and or something like
Mm.
that, and something
Hmm.
happens here, or I'm a street kid, and then I did this, and again, really make the life paths matter where they're distinct, but you're your own character because the closest analog you think of, though obviously again very different. You're like Mass Effect, right? Mass Effect obviously again very limited in the sense that it was you wouldn't really call it open world in that way. You're moving between these areas, right? Which again you could would look very different in like a cyberpunk setting. But either way, like your character is not particularly, yeah, he's your character, but he's not like the richest character, right? Yeah, your character, the characters that are interesting are the surrounding characters, and that's what really sells the story, right? Your
I love
character
it.
is kind of there; he's doing his own thing, but you get to choose. You're like, oh, I'm going to be this guy. I'm going to be this kind of guy. But it is you're kind of like window dressing to the main plot line in a way, and all the other how the other characters are reacting versus it's about V, it's about V's journey, and no matter what you choose, you're always going to be V. You know what I mean?
Pros and cons. Um, I think you go with the single character because there is just so much potential, right? It's a blank canvas,
Yeah,
right? Where everybody, part of the reason why we want to play a game is because we want to put ourselves in that character and
yeah,
experience the world. But I think you're on to something where you say, okay, what would it be like to be maybe not the CEO of Arasaka, but a very high up department head, right? How would that change the
yeah,
gameplay? What resources would you have available to you? You know what else they didn't get into, which I think would be fascinating in this world? The sports leagues, right? What would it
yeah.
be like
That's
to
yep.
be a doctor? Because it seems like the doctors get more recognition than the actual players, right? Because now all these players are augmented, and they have
Yep.
the doctors become like, oh, who's the best? Kind of like F1, right? With racing,
Yep.
right? It's like the team behind the athlete who keeps the athlete well oiled becomes just as important as the athlete themselves, right?
Yeah, because in Cyberpunk, it's really big with the Ripper docs, right? Who's the best Ripper, right?
Well, there
Where
was
are
a
these
side
guys? What are they
mission.
doing, right?
Oh no, this was so. I'll jump a little bit into Phantom Liberty. Actually, they
Hmm.
did get into. There was a child. They took kids at like 8 years old, and there was
Hmm.
a program that essentially parents would give their kids over in hopes that their kid would essentially become an athlete, right? And it was this
Yeah.
whole kind
Okay.
of shady program that was run by a doctor, and you had sports teams. It was illegal, but you had sports teams that would come there and scout kids at like 12 years
Sure.
old
Like,
to,
oh, this
you
guy
know,
is going to be. He's
he's
he's a he's a freak of nature to be the best.
right,
Yeah.
right, right. So I think having a character in that world, maybe you have a cop, right? Maybe we start off with law enforcement and you have a cop who's in law enforcement, right? And now your play style or the way the game is influenced is like, okay, you're more familiar with the gangs and the gangs know you and stuff.
Yeah.
I
So
think
yeah, make
having
the light
those
paths
would be
matter a little bit more, basically.
right, right. I think that actually is a fascinating way to go. Another thing I want to see potentially is heists, right? I think
Yep.
Destiny and GTA,
Crime, the criminal element. Yeah. Yep.
yeah, I think so. GTA has its heists, right? It's an intricate kind of dance between four players, right? Everybody has a role to fulfill in GTA. Destiny, let's forget about it, right? The 6-man raids, it's insane, right? What would that look like in a cyberpunk world where you're hacking, right? And maybe we throw in a multiplayer element where that's the multiplayer element
Well, remember
is
they
doing
dropped
heists.
multiplayer. Remember that?
Did they?
They did drop it. Yeah, they had a multiplayer. They were like, oh, it's gonna be really cool, and they ended up dropping it.
Oh, I never see.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
because I was like I never played it, but that would be
Yeah, no,
fascinating,
nobody
right?
did exactly.
Yeah,
Yes, because how do you? Because yeah, because that was the biggest question. So okay, let's say you're a hacker character. Well, the big part of being a hacker is you get the time dilation to deal with some of these things. How do you build that into the game? Yeah, it really that's what actually you know what I will say that was a little bit disappointing because a lot of people were almost expecting like a GTA Online in Night City, which would have been sick. You don't have a big lobby. You may be like six people in the whole city,
right.
right? And you're just doing stuff in the city, and it's if if they could work that in, I mean, that's going to have legs, right? Because it's such a cool environment. Look, even when I'm watching you play GTA or I'm watching some people play, it all kind of looks like city to me. There's
Mm,
nothing really that unique necessarily about the city, right? Like, oh, this is the upscaler, this is this. But then again, Night City, like you said, it's a character.
mm,
Every area is distinct, right? Every you're walking down like it's like the Joy Toy area, right? It looks very distinct, right? And you're walking down the outside you just call it like kind of like the meat, and I guess you call it like the meat of the city where everyone actually lives, right? Outside the big corporate areas. You got these kind of just run down, where you meet Jackie for like a lot of the ramen and crap he'd be eating at the stands, right? and the city has a lot more character there. In GTA, I just don't know if they could do that much because they are confined in that kind of present day, right, look, right there, which is very, right now, if you look at our buildings, very contemporary. They're kind of not really beautiful or very unique buildings, but Cyberpunk has that. It's got all these character in all these regions. Well, yeah, you park like 6 people in that, and then you're like, okay, well, we can go do heists on Arasaka or Militech, or
Yeah.
we can hit this building, and we can have notoriety gained, then we can own this area. Because, in some of the endings, you're like, oh, you'd own like this building at the very top. But it was limited. It was just more for eye candy. You didn't really do anything with it. You didn't park any really cool cars there. You could summon your cars at any point, right? They just get dropped off, which is a cool system. But there was no like garage where, oh, I'm just going to park my car here and it's going to look sick,
Yes. Yes.
right? Or I'm
I
going to
think.
have a hover car, right? Whatever they
Whoa.
call it, right?
Yeah.
Park this
Yeah.
thing here, right?
hmm
Yep.
I think so you had fixers in
Yep.
Cyberpunk, right? You had the people who kind of
Yep. Yep.
made sure that the mercs didn't get screwed over and made sure the client didn't get screwed over. What would it be? Because even V had his crew that he was kind of a part of, right? It was
Yeah, well, Rogue was running. Well, okay, you've talked to a bunch of fixers, but then Rogue was like the main story fixer,
but who was the crew?
right?
Was it Bugbear? There was the
Uh,
black chick who was the hacker. There
uh,
was
Oh yeah, at the very beginning. Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
you're right. Okay, yeah, her obviously Jackie was in there.
yep,
She gets fried, right?
yep.
She gets fried. I'm trying. There weren't really that many,
I
were
think there
there?
might
It
have been
was
3 or 4. But even when you go into
yeah.
the club, what was it?
Oh, Dexter
Everlast?
Deshawn, right?
No, Dexter was a
Yeah,
fixer.
yeah.
Dexter was a fixer. Dexter Deshawn
Oh,
was
yeah,
a
that's right. He
fixer.
was a fixer. That's
hmm
right. He was the fixer.
Yep.
Yeah, it's the club run by all the prostitutes.
But
It's that
when
one.
you go in there, you see crews. You don't see,
Yep.
the solo mercs, they're great, right? But you also have crews. I
Yeah, you
think
get
going
specialized
into a new
crews. Yeah.
game, to be able to raise your reputation of your crew in a multiplayer setting, right? To say,
Or here's the thing. I
mhm,
think you're onto something. What if you even take characters? See, kind of coming back to the life path thing. Oh, well, your character's gonna be a hacker,
mhm,
which means you are not as good at frontline combat. You
sure.
cannot. You have a fixed set way to level yourself. You are a
Oh,
hacker. This guy's a combat guy. So you really break it down because they
kind of
kind of
like
get
the
into it a little bit
triad
where
of
you do.
healer, tank, and
Yeah,
DPS. You have
yeah,
hacker,
exactly. Yeah,
weapons
exactly.
guy,
Really specific
transport.
ways to interact. Yeah, exactly. Ways to really specifically interact with the world. Well, maybe not. Well, maybe a little bit of transport, just because you got to be careful because that one can be unless you made the vehicles really cool and made that like a very specific role where
Well,
you
they got to
had to like
fly. They have to have
spec.
flying
Well,
vehicles
yeah. Well,
in
you
the
have to
next
have
one.
flying vehicles. Yeah, there's a specific way you would have to work that in. But or again, you could be like you could be the medical guy. You could be like, oh, I used to be what was the corporation that did the medical pickups that was so
Max
sick.
Tac,
It's only like the first mission. No.
Max
Max
Tac.
Tech's the cops. It's the that's not Max Tech. That's the tactical response team, right? It's the guys that pick up like the big corporate clients. It's like one of the first missions, right? You go and get this chick. She's like, she's in a bathtub because they're trying to slice her chrome out, right? She's a corporate client. You pull her out, and she gets picked up by the medical team. Oh my god, they were so sick, right? Because they show up, they just grab her. They're like, get out of here! Like, screw you, get the hell out of here. We're gonna blow you away. And they
Yep.
just take her in, and they have to be medics, right? And so you could have something like that, and so you could really lean into you have to specialize,
The
right? Or you
roles.
can be
Yep.
jack of all trades, master of none, but you really have a limited amount you can get into.
Yep.
And then that's when you're like, okay, you not only does that really change. I mean, you could literally, I mean, look, and you could be really open with it too. Hey, you could play single player, and then you could really have like unrestricted leveling. You do whatever you want. Or you could have, fixed leveling where you only get a set number of skill points. You have to specialize. Or, again, and you go to multiplayer, you got to specialize. You do something,
Yes.
right?
I think it would even be great, and now we're just shooting for the moon, right? This game is going to be, 300 whatever,
Oh
bytes
yeah,
of
any look
data, right?
if
But
if it's 300 gigs, but at least it plays like what we're talking about. It's better than Call of Duty. Okay.
yeah, right. So I think another thing you do is build the hideout, right? So something
Yep.
GTA
Yep.
does for every heist, you have to buy the corresponding facility, right? Because you have to have a base
Okay.
of operations from which to set your heist up, right? So you start in Cyberpunk, you have your base is probably some just rundown abandoned bar, right? Whatever
Exactly.
it is, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
And then you level it up slowly and surely. You buy new pieces, you buy maybe a console for your hacker so they can be a better hacker, right? And then I think they don't limit you to the city. I think you should have like almost like a globe in the middle of the room where you can do
Hmm.
heists in the same way Destiny releases Scourge of the Past raid, or they
It's just
release,
missions, basically. Yeah, and you
yeah,
just
they
go
should
run that
release
mission. Okay.
heists
Okay.
for the game as like this is now we're getting into a live service game, right? But you release
Yep.
the Arasaka heist, but the Arasaka
And you know
heist
what?
is actually in
That's good
Japan.
because it also, yeah, exactly. I was going to say that's good because you can still have the main game setting that you can go do stuff in, but then that allows you to skirt a little bit outside, like the same
Make it
setting,
feel
obviously,
like a
but
bigger
like skirt
world.
outside the region.
Yeah,
Exactly. You pop into, Japan or something, or what, or some of these other countries where, or you pop in over here, or it's just, it gives you, exactly, it lets you flirt a little bit with a wider world, but it's very defined. It's like, oh, this is basically just a small map you play on for this thing.
right.
That's all it's for. And then, yeah, and then again, you have the specialized characters that come in and that can change. Again, this is the hardest part is to design all this stuff because you have to actually make it a difference. If you're a hacker, if you want to have a hacker, there better be a good reason for it.
Hmm.
Versus, oh, having a hacker and, yeah, but they can kind of, they handle these guys in a slightly different way than, because that's what some of these games do. They're like, oh, you can be all these role plays, and it's like you can engineer the door, you can beat your way through the door, and even Cyberpunk did that a little bit. But it's like, well, what if I don't want to do that? What if I never even want to step inside the building? How about that?
Right.
How
Yeah.
do I do
Yeah.
that?
Yep.
Right? Like the brawler can't do that. He's got to break in. What if I'm like, screw it. I'm not even gonna step inside the building. I'm gonna hack guys. I'm gonna blow their OSs out, blow their chip decks, right? Blow their decks out from like outside, and literally just make it a walkway, right? But maybe again, you got to figure out how do you make it engaging and fun, more difficult, or again, it's really got to lean into that. You'd have to really sit down and map this stuff out.
Oh,
I
for sure.
think they could do it. You know, you got to create. Well, okay, you had creative people over there. I know a lot of them have left, right? Because I think they're making that new vampire game. Some of the CD
Mm,
Projekt Red former devs are. Some of those are some of those guys. But there's talent out there. You could definitely do something like this. Yeah, it's. I mean, oh yeah. Again, you really, really take a little bit of GTA side and bleed into Cyberpunk.
oh yeah. Oh
Basically,
yeah.
is kind of what we're talking about, right?
I
And
think
again,
we're
and
onto
then
something,
even
man.
even define it even a little bit more. Yeah. Well, yeah.
They got to
I'm
pay us
sure
some money,
the
man. We gotta get
Denmark
this out
was
there,
it.
and they'll pay us to come up with these
Was it
ideas.
Was it Poland? It's Poland, right? That it's Polish. Is Cyberpunk Red?
I
CD
believe
Project
so.
Red's Polish.
I believe
All right, so
so.
let's get
Yeah.
the check they cut to CD Project Red
You can
and
give
just
us
do
half.
this. You don't, no single player, just the multiplayer only. You just make this little idea. That's it, and then
Cancel the
eventually,
Witcher. Cancel the Witcher. I know
exactly.
that's blasphemy to
Yeah,
some people,
look,
but
it can't get. Look, a series great. I don't play Siri. Okay, just cut the Witcher, cut the Witcher 4, or give me. You know what? We'll talk about that more, but it's just weird they didn't go, oh, you're going to be your own Witcher. Oh, no, you got to be Siri. I was like, Siri's great, but like, what if I don't want to be Siri? I hate to tell you this, man. Like, if Siri was cool, I didn't want to really play. I wanted to play as Geralt. I want to play as the Witcher, the guy down in the, whatever. That's a separate video,
I was about
right?
to say, man. Look, if we can get into the Witcher stuff. I'd want to play as just an unknown Witcher from a
Yeah,
different
exactly. And
school
you got to
and
build your fame
build your
up.
reputation.
Exactly.
Right there, you go. See,
But did you
look at that. Look
little
at that.
little aside? Did you hear that the author was like, "Oh, there's no such thing as Witcher schools." Did you actually hear about that?
No.
He came out and was like, he basically said the school's idea, which was pulled from his own books, right? It was like a line, some little dialogue in his own books that he basically was like, I may even omit that. He's like, because that's basically, I think, which is kind of weird, right? Because it's actually a really cool idea. But it basically sounds like, no, they were maybe all trained in like a couple different places, but maybe trained in different techniques. But it's kind of weird if you think about it. How do you train the cat again without getting too much in? How do you train like the crazy cat witchers that are psychos and killers, and you train like the griffins in the same place? Wouldn't you like that feels like something's wrong there, right? Like, or maybe it's generations of students. I don't know. But he basically said, no, that was completely fabricated, essentially by people who've read the book over the years and kind of, again, because everyone
Great
was like, this is a really cool
fabrication.
idea,
Great
right? And he
fabrication.
doesn't.
Yeah.
He hates it. He hates it. But then he also didn't like the Witcher games. So
I was about
that
to
guy.
say, yeah, look, whenever you take somebody's IP, right, and this is when movies are made, it's a tight dance you got to do, right? And you
Yep.
want the
Yep.
blessing of the person who created it, but at the same time, you also want them to shut their mouth and let the people who you've hired to, translate it, let them do their job. I will say,
Yeah. Translate it
just from
faithfully, right? That's all you can do.
yeah, just from a place that it makes sense, right? This is just me, right? Thinking off the top of my head. We have different animals in different zones on real planet Earth, right? Polar bears are in, the north, and then you get to the jungles, you have jungle animals and all that stuff. I would think in The Witcher you have different monsters in different biomes, right? So
Yeah,
it would
well,
make sense that
that
you
would
have
make
different
perfect sense. Yeah.
schools to
Yep.
combat
To
those
deal with
different
it, right?
ones. And yeah, like Geralt is not going to be an expert of like polar monsters, right? That's a different kind
Yep.
of school that deals with them. So I'm like, look, man, sometimes
It
you
makes
shut your mouth
sense,
and
right?
like,
It makes sense.
yeah,
Yeah. You're like, hey, this was a
take it.
good idea.
Yeah,
I can
yeah,
do something with this. Yeah.
yeah.
Instead of going, yeah, it's the same. I mean, it's the same thing in these worlds, right? It's like, yeah, you like, why wouldn't you have these different biomes? And they even have it in the game, right? You are literally fighting shale Mars. Again, little aside here, right? We're not going to totally get into it, but you're fighting shale Mars in the Blood and Wine expansion. They aren't anywhere else. They're there.
Mm-hmm.
They're down in Toussaint, right? So
Great.
yeah,
By
great
the way,
idea, but he
great
didn't like it
DLC.
apparently.
Yeah.
Oh, beautiful, amazing! All those
Yeah.
DLCs are fantastic.
Awesome.
But
So,
yeah, that's
I think we
that's
covered it, man.
Cyberpunk, man.
I think we covered it.
covered it. Yeah.
Beloved game. I think we both agree it's a masterpiece.
Yeah, look, you got to go play it. Even if you never played it, just go check it out. It's still amazing. The story the first time, it just trips you up, and the music is still amazing. Again, the combat's better now. Right?
Hey,
So
and you have to go play Phantom Liberty. Shout out
I know.
to Idris Elba.
I gotta go.
He's
Yeah, I gotta
amazing.
see Idris Elba.
Mhm.
Because he's yeah. Again, he's not Keanu. He's not. He actually can act. Right? Like I loved. Was it Heat and Speed and all that stuff? I think it was Speed.
Yeah.
Loved all that stuff. But it's again, like you said, one lane. One lane. That's where he lives, and he's great in that lane. But that's that one lane.
One lane Reeves, man. I love it.
That's
I love
right.
It.
That's right.
So,
Stay
man,
there, and he's awesome.
Absolutely. So I think we've covered it, man. I think we've talked about what we wanted to talk about. Unless you got anything else you want to throw in there.
Well, I think that's it. Like I said, if you haven't played it, just go check it out, man. It's still a ton of fun.
Yes.
Check it out for the music alone. When you're getting, it's just tugging on you, just and the twists, it's worth playing. Now,
that's right.
Definitely.
If somebody's listening to this and you haven't played this game, and you've decided to listen to this with the title being Cyberpunk, you're messing up. You're messing up. So go play it.
Gotta check it out, man. Yeah.
Other than that,
we only touched on the story. Okay, we only touched on it a little bit. So
that's right. That's right. All right. That's it then, man. We're signing out.
That's it.